to have you along. And then there were eight teams remaining in the Stanley Cup playoffs. John Shannon, Kelly Rudy, I'm David Amber. Great to have you along. And I don't know if it's going to get better than it was in the first round. 42 games, 18 needed overtime, but we have some great matchups, compelling matchups, starting with the Oilers and the Ducks. And it's going to get going, gentlemen. 10:30 Eastern time on Sportsnet. It's the second all-time playoff meeting between these clubs. The Oilers won in 2006 on their way to the Stanley Cup final. It will be a tough battle, the Oilers know, against the division champions.
We played each other hard all year. We had a little bit of success, and we had games where we weren't very good against them as well. So it should be an interesting series. I think San Jose was a team where they didn't want to engage us physically, and they didn't want to get some of our big guys emotional and get them going. So I feel like Anaheim isn't going to shy away from that kind of game.
Obviously, they have one of the best players in the world in Connor, and you just have to be ready to know when he's on the ice and what line you're going to be up against, and be ready to play and beat those guys that you're playing against. He's got to be a focal point when he's on the ice. You got to be aware that he's out there and try and limit his speed. I mean, when he's got open space, he's a dangerous player.
All right, so you know the Ducks are going to be game planning against 97. Yes. By the way, 97, McDavid 0 5-on-5 points against the Sharks, but I guess it's from the fire into the inferno because the Ducks will not be easy.
You're right. It's a harder matchup for him when you look at what he had to face versus San Jose and Pavelski. And even with that matchup, he was frustrated at times. And in fact, in Game 3, I thought he crossed the line a couple of times, which, by the way, guys, I don't mind. I'd rather a guy go down that way as opposed to meekly. So here's a guy, though, McDavid, he's going to have his hands full for sure with Kessler. I think Kessler is going to play him extremely hard. The thing that I think Kessler does a better job than Getzlaf in this matchup, he's a better skater, faster skater, so that's going to be more troublesome for McDavid. But nonetheless, I really think, because he's gone through this his entire life, he knows about matchups. I think that he's going to rise to the occasion, and he's going to have a wonderful series.
You know what? The thing for me, Kelly, is that I think the learning curve he went through in the first round against Marc-Edouard Vlasic, against Joe Pavelski, might actually put him in good stead against a bigger, tougher team. For me, playoffs are all about role players, though, and I think that that's the thing that the Ducks might have to offer when you look at key guys, guys that win faceoffs, guys that unheralded guys that score a ton of goals. And for me, that becomes guys like Antoine Vermette, who's got a Stanley Cup ring. All he seems to do is win faceoffs and win everything. To me, Vermette's one of those guys. And the other one's Rickard Rakell, who, let's face it, didn't play the first 10 games of the season, still ended up with more than 30 goals, had 5 points in the series against Calgary. He's playing with Ryan Getzlaf most of the season. Vermette's got Corey Perry, by the way. I think they, too, are the guys that this team, the Oilers, have to watch on the offensive side of the puck.
It was kind of shocking that the Ducks swept the Flames. It was not a 4-0 series, but at times the Ducks did impose their will physically against the Flames. Is the size of Edmonton going to be enough to maybe offset that, John? Well,
I think that Peter Chiarelli, when he designed this team, designed it to beat California teams, to beat LA, to beat San Jose, and to beat Anaheim. And they've, you know what? They've done what they're supposed to do. LA didn't make the playoffs. They've beaten the Sharks in 6. And now guys like Milan Lucic, Patrick Maroon, the former Duck, and Zach Kassian, who came out of his own in the round against San Jose, have to be difference makers. That, to me, is the way the Oilers win this series. Big body hockey, use their skating, and be effective in the offensive zone.
Now Kelly, 5-on-5, the Ducks were absolutely impenetrable in that first round. However, shorthanded, not so great. In fact, the Flames scored 6 power play goals. If you're the Oilers right now, what can you learn from maybe what the Flames had success with the man advantage?
You watch a Calgary power play, and they were at 37.5% in the first round. And why? Well, it really starts off the flanks. So they like to get pucks back to the point, and TJ Brodie usually is in that position. So whether it's Clefbaum, a different kind of player, Nugent Hopkins, I'm not sure. But clearly, it was the play of Versteeg trying to get pucks to the front of the net. Monahan did a great job. So again, John, is that Maroon or Lucic goes to the front? But I still say it's the flanks. There's a beautiful pass again from Versteeg. So they have to find that guy that get things started on the half wall, because that's where they generated a lot of their opportunities.
And you have to add guys like Oscar Clefbaum to be able to do that, or maybe even somebody like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who during the regular season was used on the point on the power play.
It's fair to say, guys, whoever wins the series probably will have the better goaltender. That's just how these things work. Kelly told me to say it, by the way. But it's true. And these two guys were sensational in the first round. I mean, Talbot, absolutely sensational, continues his breakout year. John Gibson, also stellar. I know he got pulled in one game, but he was stellar aside from that one.
So did Talbot. So
there you go. They both got pulled in one game. What about the defenses, though, Kelly? When you look at the matchups there on the blue line. Who has the advantage here?
Well, Anaheim clearly, to me, is the better team on the back end, although they have a lot of injuries. Now, it sounds like Fowler's back. That's a good thing. Vatanen doesn't sound like he's ready. We're not really sure. And then you have Lindholm that might not be available as well. So these guys... having Fowler back is invaluable. I mean, not only how he plays defensively, but offensively, he's had his best season this year. And these guys, to me, this back end of Anaheim might be the most mobile and fast defense in the league. And especially when you watch them live, man, they push the pace. And then when you can add in two younger guys like Theodore and Montour that do the same sort of thing, love to jump into the play. And I don't expect Theodore to get as many points as he had in the first round, but nonetheless invaluable when you throw a young guy in like that.
And John, you talked about some of the X factors for the Ducks. What about on the blue line? Could Darnell Nurse be that X factor for the Oilers?
Well, I think it could be Nurse. I still look at what Clefbaum and Larson do as a tandem. They have become purely a 1-2. But let's face it, if Nurse is given the chance, and we've seen this all the way since junior hockey, he's not afraid to jump in. He has confidence. We know he has size, and yes, he can score goals.
That's what I liked about his game. He's willing to do some of this stuff. You know, sometimes coaches want their guys to lay back a little bit and not really join the rush. As you said, John, from going back to junior, he's got a real keen eye when to anticipate what might happen offensively, and that's where that great skating comes into play.
Jim Houston, Craig Simpson, Scott Oak will have the call. Again, that's 10:30 on Wednesday on Sportsnet.